What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Art of War stream. This one is impromptu, as Games Workshop has went ahead and released the MFM, the Minotaur Field Manual, with all the new updated points for the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Necrons. We've been kind of waiting, the Codex points for the last couple codexes. They're not the actual points. Because they're designed a long time ago, who knows when, and frankly, the game has changed a lot in the last couple months, so they require new points.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if these books didn't, go to print before 10th edition was even out.
Yeah.
Given the release cycle that has to happen here. So, yeah, the points are not going to be up to date. And that's why we got the Minotaur.
And the points in the AdMech one were ludicrous. They were higher than the index. So thankfully the MFM is here, and we're going to go ahead in this video break down the AdMech points first, then the Necron ones, and then just give our overall thoughts. If you like this type of content, please subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about us, and leave a comment below letting us know what you're most excited about from the MFM update. In addition, if you want any additional content from us, like 3 battle reports a week, Jack's Theory classes, we got Masterclass series, all the awesome 40k content you could watch, check out our own platform, thewarroom.bhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial. Sign up, see if you like it, and you also get to join our awesome Discord community, which is very international in scope.
Yep.
So,
before we dive in, I think there's been an excellent question raised in chat. The most important thing of the day is to find a cool name for the 6 Catan list. And I have one.
Yeah, you got one?
I've got one.
You got one? What is it?
The God Squad.
The God Squad?
The God Squad. I saw that on Reddit somewhere. And I think it's the perfect name.
I'm going to call mine the Golden Gods. And I'm going to run the Deceiver just because.
Just so you can be Dennis?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and flip on over here to the lovely MFM. And we'll scroll down to AdMech. I don't believe there's any other changes in here. Usually it's just the codexes that are relevant. So for AdMech, the flyers all remain relatively expensive. I think there's 5-point changes mostly. I think the Stratoraptor is 165, goes to 170. The flyers are very expensive. They do have hover so they can start on the board, and there is Alpha Strike potential, but they also are extremely inconsistent because they have no rerolls. So if AdMech got an Ironstorm-esque detachment that included some sort of rerolls not involving an objective, then that probably would be a build, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, I'm not sad about that.
Yeah, I don't like that style anyway.
Yeah. I got sick of that back in, 9th edition. I don't need it again. They have other cooler units.
Okay, then we look over here to Mr. Belisarius Call. 180 points, a 5-point drop for getting a major nerf.
Booyakasha.
He lost his stealth aura for a benefits of cover aura, and went down 5 points because of it.
Wait, doesn't everyone in 10th edition, get the benefits of cover for just, existing?
You only don't get the benefits of cover if you intentionally are I will be here on the center of this objective, not anywhere near terrain.
I will tell you, the times when I don't get the benefits of cover, I'm oh yeah, so with cover I get... Oh, wait, I'm not in cover. That's weird. That usually doesn't happen.
It's shocking. It happens once a game.
Yeah. Benefits of cover is just garbage.
Yeah, that is terrible. So, frankly, he should be 120, between 100 and 120 points. He needs to be dirt cheap for this army, but he is not. He is absurdly expensive. So, boop. Corpuscari Priests, they are...
Damn, that is cheap.
They are pretty reasonable for what you get. The thing about them is they got a really nice upgrade on their datasheet for if they hit a target that I believe isn't a monster vehicle, is -2 to its move, advance, and charges, which is quite a good rule, and they can also disembark from a transport, which can give them reroll wounds access, and they natively hit on 3s. So quite a solid unit. I really like them. They lost the -1 to wound if a character's inside, but frankly, you are only joining the Omnipulus sometimes, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah, 12 points a model is pretty dang good. What are they, 1 wound apiece with a 5 of 5 up?
5 of 5 up, yep.
That is pretty tanky for cost. They do good damage for cost. That's just an efficient stat line.
Yeah. I really like them in the Datasom Conclave, but outside of that, they are still just a solid debuff piece that you can use.
Yeah.
Most things stay the same. The Datasmith, you have to take him with the robots to use him. He should just be with the robots built into that points cost, frankly.
You don't want to run by yourself?
Let's go ahead and just skip over to the robots. Where are they? Castellan robots?
Apparently there was also an index update for non-Codex compliant Space Marine chapters.
We can look at that after, for sure. So Cataphron Breachers, not Cataphron, Castellan Robots, 2 models is 200 points. So they're 100 points per model. And you also then have to pay 35 points for the Cybernetica Datasmith. In order for them to get the army rule, they have to be in the Cybernetica detachment. They're slow. They can't walk through walls.
They're infantry, though, right? Because they walk on 2 legs?
They're not infantry. They fix that. So when this Datasmith joins them, they don't get what the Technomancer does to Wraiths.
Well, the infantry, the Datasmith gets to walk through walls. They don't.
Exactly.
Wraiths get to walk through walls because they're beasts.
Yeah. I'm saying when you join a unit, it used to be when the Datasmith joined the unit had the infantry keyword, but not the model, not the robots. So
they still weren't able to walk through walls. Fulgurites and Corpuscari at 12 points a model. I could definitely see a lot of priests hitting the field.
You did see a lot of priests hit the field.
I could see more. They're cheap, man. They are just dirt cheap. I know this is probably not it, but 720 points gets you 60 priests. Mm-hmm. And that is a lot of priests.
In the Conclave, they are quite solid. +1 strength, +1 attack is not bad.
How many points is the transport?
80.
Was that 1,200 points for
it does get pricey.
But 1,200 points for 60 priests and 6 transports. Yep. Tasty. Maybe it's 1,300. I haven't double-checked my math.
You can put a decent amount of those bodies on the board. Then we got Iron Striders. They remain at that 50 points, which you really can't make them too much cheaper. They're super inconsistent, but they have solid defense. Castellan Robots, just garbage. Cataphron Breachers, they did not go up. They didn't need to. They're still pricey for what you get because you really need a character inside to give them some sort of extra oomph, which means they're sitting around 350 or so points. So it is a very pricey unit. It's the single best consistent damage dealer activation you can get in this book. Frankly, I'd like them to get slightly cheaper as well because their defense just isn't that great, frankly. I think their best uses are an Explorator Maniple, having one in just any list as a shooting unit, or if you want to run multiples, the Conclave is probably the strongest way to add multiples. Cataphron Destroyers, you don't know what this unit does. Quinn tried to defend it in the data sheet ranking. This is an abysmal unit. It's horrible. What if it was a Breacher body, so still pretty mediocre defense, but had no access to rerolls?
I mean, decent defense. Not against
a 3-up, 6-up?
Toughness, high toughness with a decent save and 3 wounds is like mid toughness durability right now. It's like a decent durability stat line, especially if you have multiples, which you do. Hits on 5s in Overwatch, which is not the same as rerolling hits.
Why is their Grav AP1? Like that, if Grav was AP2, I would actually consider running just a handful of them.
I mean, the Plasma's fine. Right, the Plasma's okay.
You hazardous yourself off the board.
You don't hazardous yourself that hard. You roll 6 dice.
I've seen John roll hazardous tests, man.
I think if you didn't see Breachers at all, like you.
No, that's what I'm saying in comparison, because they're the same body, the same chassis.
Yeah, I mean, it's 60 points cheaper. I think it's fine. I'm never going to put it on the table over a Breacher unit.
Exactly.
I'll tell you that much for sure.
That's why, when you have that kind of plays similar role, but the other one is vastly better, even if it's more expensive, it just doesn't really fit. They needed a datasheet update to help them out.
They needed to just do something different, not we're Breachers with a different gun and no rerolls.
Yep, exactly. Onager Dooncrawler stays at 140. It got a huge upgrade because now it can access a 5 of Phenopane from the Engine Seer. So you do have to run a little character near him, but you can give him a 5 of Phenopane, and he's 4-up Invuln, 2-up Save, and can access Armor of Contempt. So it can be very tanky. Its guns are still downright mediocre, but what it does give is a 6-inch aura for your battle line infantry units, wholly within 6 of it, get a 4-up Invuln from ranged attacks, which is, if you're running this...
Wholly within?
Wholly within. Models wholly within.
Models wholly within. Oh, okay, yeah. That's not... It's not terrible.
Exactly.
I mean, it's pretty decent on the priests, too, because the priests are looking to stack. They're not the right...
Battle line. There's a lot of keywords in here, Jack. You might not be used to that, and they're all restricted to certain things.
I forgot the AdMech way.
So, yeah. But I think the Dooncrawler is quite strong.
Yeah.
As a, buffing piece for your Skitarii. Skystalkers stay the same. They have the shoot and scoot. Sterilizers, they go down 5 points, which is super nice because they got a huge datasheet upgrade where they access reroll 1s to wound for a unit that they target on an objective, or full rerolls to wound if they're within 6 of your
and they're the flamer ones, right?
And they're the flamers, so they don't care. Most of this army's hitting on 4s. They auto hit. Then they get reroll wounds. In the 100 cohort, you can give them +1 to wound as well, or +1 AP. They actually do quite a bit of nasty work. So I really like them. I think they're fantastic now. And in the 100 cohort, they are really, really good. Fantastic unit.
Yeah, they seem pretty dirt cheap. That seems good.
Cerberus Raiders stayed the same. It's just a cheap skirmisher. Same thing.
Sulfur Hounds are cheaper, huh?
They stay the same.
No, but cheaper than the
they're
Raiders.
Slightly cheaper. That's because they don't have the scout move. The Cerberus Raiders have the scout move. Sulfur Hounds do mortals on the charge. It is a bit worse than it was previously, but if you want to design an AdMech list on trying to do a bunch of random mortals, you can actually run Sulfur Hounds and do a decent amount, charging them in there. Infiltrators, fantastic unit. I really like their Battle Shock shenanigans. Nick has had a fit. I played his sisters and his GSC, and both times him having to charge into Infiltrators with -2 to his leadership test, and for Battle Shocks was hellish.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go get secure no man's land and hold this, take away your primary. And I'm like, Battle Shock test -2. Failed. Ouch.
Yeah, if you're trying to use them for movement to get onto objectives, or you need strats in order to kill, I don't know, really fragile models, then they can really mess with you. But if you're just like, oh, you battle shocked me anyway, you're dead, then it's less problematic.
It's for those contest plays. They're trying to get on your primary and you make them OC0 now. That's super valuable.
The contest plays are sweet.
And then it's an infiltrating unit, so it can go do things in the middle of the table instantly. So fantastic unit, really good in the Hunter cohort.
Talk to me about the Slicer Dicers.
Ruststalker, I don't know what price they would have to be for me to want to run them. Yeah, go ahead and read this price.
Ruststalkers are sweet, though.
They are, I have 30 of them. I got 30 Ruststalkers.
I've been on the receiving end of 30 of them in the past.
I love Ruststalkers. They're right over
Ruststalkers. They have a 5-up infilm?
They do.
they move.
They'll read their weapons.
Why do they hit on 4s?
That's this army check. They removed VS and weapon skill 3+ and added nothing back.
+2 to advance, +2 to charge. That's a decent rule. And if they hit on... Do you have any rerolls at all?
There's no combat buffs in this book, basically. They forgot combat exists.
Can you give them a Doctrina or something to make them hit on 3s?
You can advance and charge them. The Doctrinas only interact with ranged.
Wait, so you mean I can...
There's nothing with combat
I can
buffs,
go really, really fast and fail to kill anything I want on the board?
Yes, you could.
Damn. That sounds tight.
So, I don't know
I can go hit that unit over there and fail to kill it. Or I can pop my army-wide ability and go hit that unit over there and fail to kill it.
Their strongest use might be the fact that people have only played against AdMech in 9th edition, so they might remember them from 9th edition and be scared of them.
Yeah, you just tell them their advance and charge range and they're like, surely this will kill me.
But otherwise, they'd have to go down like 20 points, and then I'd consider running them as just cheap. Because the thing is, a problem with some of these AdMech data sheets and AdMech as a whole is some of these data sheets are only stats. They are just there for stats. Their unit doesn't do anything. Their datasheet rule doesn't really synergize, or it's so inconsistent that it doesn't matter. So there's units that do things and have awesome synergy, and then there's units that do nothing, have no synergy, and really need extra rules. And I was hoping that the veteran cohort would have some sort of melee buff as well. Instead of giving the Sicarians cover outside of 12, what the heck is that? It should have been something like +1 attacks, +1 weapon skill on the charge. Anything like that could have been massive. Anyway, let's not talk about the Ruststalker for too long.
Yeah, I just am wondering how the person who designed Cataphren Breachers, who do a ton of damage, for the record, design Ruststalkers. I just don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, that's why I assumed there was going to be some sort of melee Skitarii type of detachment that really buffs them up. No, doesn't exist. All right, the Marshal stays super cheap, which is nice because the troops remain cheap as well, based on the previous MFM, and gets access to full rerolls. Now they can also access full rerolls to wound from the transport, which means they're actually pretty decently efficient. And then on top of that, he has in the Hunter cohort access to any of the enhancements, and those enhancements are all quite good. So you actually want the Marshal in the Hunter cohort. So him staying super cheap means when you throw an enhancement, he's still a relatively cheap character, which is great. Vanguard and Rangers, pretty reasonable. Vanguard are just fantastic. I pretty much am running 5 to 6 units in most of my AdMech lists. And Rangers, you can run 1 just to get the sticky objectives if you want it. But the troops are pretty much the core of this army and how it plays. Scorpius Disintegrator is one of the most outrageously overpriced battle tanks in the game. I don't know if I want to, tease Jack with another reading of
I've been down. You know what? Sure, why not? I feel like I glanced at it briefly because I was like, surely. Just for the record, this thing's the same cost as a Fire Prism and
Yes.
or a Night Spinner.
Yes.
Okay.
The thing is, if it was cheap, it would actually be good. Doesn't have bad rolls.
Move 10, toughness 10, with a 2-up save.
Yep,
All right.
can access Armor of Contempt.
12 wounds. Armor. That thing's tough to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Its gun is why? Okay, that's 1 damage.
It has 9 1-damage shots. It has then the missile launcher, and then you pick the Pheramite or the 2d6 indirect.
So the 2d. Oh, it's indirect. That's still not good. It hits on 5s. That's bad.
No, it'll get +1 to hit against infantry. So the thing is, the Pheramite cannon gets +1 to hit against monsters' vehicles. The anti-infantry indirect gets +1 to hit against infantry.
Okay, this is not terrible. Its offense is just ridiculously bad for 180. 3 shots that hit on 3s at 12 minus 3 d6 is alright. It should have been d6 plus 2 or something like that. I get it.
Yeah.
This is... If it was d6 plus 2 damage on the main gun, I think this would be fine.
Or if it was just cheaper for the current pro.
Or if it was just cheaper.
It has a solid data sheet roll. It has okay guns, and it's pretty durable. You need it to do damage if you're bringing it as AdMech, and it doesn't do consistent damage.
No,
so
the Pheramite cannon is a real quick path to doing 2 damage to a vehicle.
And I've done it before.
Yeah.
I got burned by these guys. I think in the 150 category I'd think about taking them. Yeah, because then it's comparable to some of the other mainline battle tanks. Scorpius Dune Rider. The only negative thing I can say about this is that it's the only unit in the game that actually has a literal assault ramp, or is like one of the few units that has both a literal assault ramp and a firing deck, and doesn't have either of those rules.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
But it does have an amazing fire support rule to get reroll wounds when you pop out. So Corpuscari love it. The Rangers, Vanguard love it with the Marshal inside. So very good transport, and pretty happy that it didn't get any increase in costs with the upgrade of fire support. Okay, Dragoons. They now exist in 2 separate realms, and that is solely, I think, because Games Workshop want you to buy 27 Iron Striders / Dragoon bodies. Because you used to be able to do that in 9th edition. They stopped it in the index. You could only get up to 18 with 9 Dragoons, 9 Iron Striders. But boy, we are back to potentially running 27.
If you told me the pack came with 2 Iron Striders in it, I'd be like, man, that's pretty reasonable. A little on the expensive side. But the fact that it comes with 1, and now you can take up to 27, and realistically, these are probably the most durable bodies you can take.
Yeah.
And I'll just say it right now, 27 walkers is probably a good list. It's a bit unfortunate that comes out to something like $1,500.
I don't even have that many.
No,
it's
nobody has that many right now.
It's
right now.
Right now, but we could get more radium just else.
Are they even in stock on GW right now? That's what I want to know. Are we paying scalper prices for these?
So the thing is, the Dragoon with the Taser Lance is utterly fantastic. Love it as a solo unit in most of the detachments because it gained access to native advance and charge and fallback and charge, which is great. It doesn't do consistent damage, but it's totally fine, can access tank shock as needed, and can skirmish with things pretty fine, and it's relatively durable for what you get. But where it gets insanely good is in the Hunter cohort, where you can access 1 CP Bionic Endurance for 5 of Phenopane, and at that point, I've been running 3x3x3 Dragoons in my Hunter cohort list. Pop in the 5 of Phenopane, they have the data tether on there, so you can potentially regen on a 5-up, and gain a CP. The thing is amazing. They tank so much damage. The Acolyte Bomb Squad, with the +1 ballistic skill and all the reroll, nope, boom, isn't even killing the whole unit. So these things are durable. Love the Dragoons with Taser Lances.
Yep, they're in stock currently.
Radium Jezzails. This is a weapon that probably most people don't know what it does. It is a one-shot anti-infantry sniper that's strength 5, AP 2, flat 3.
That's correct.
The thing about it is it's probably not going to be too much damage because you can pick one target at the start of the game to get reroll hits against, and that's the end of your rerolls.
Yeah, they don't do anything. What they are is a 45-point toughness 7, 7 wound with a 3 up, 5 up stealth body, and that's it.
Yep, that you can spend 1 CP, 5 of Pain on in the Hunter cohort.
Yep.
And
that is a stupidly durable platform for 135 points.
Yep.
And that is what it's there for. It has 2 guns. It has the Phosphor Serpenta and the Radium Jezzail, and if you think that's going to do any goddamn damage, you're crazy. It's just not. And so that means your 135-point unit, which you're probably going to take multiples, is just going to box out the board. They're OC2. They can block space. They can charge things.
Yep.
It's annoying to get through.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's, 405 points or something?
It's very cheap.
9 of them, and you just...
Yep. And in the Hunter cohort, you can advance and charge them for 1 CP. The Dragoons have it natively with the Taser Lance. The Radium Jezzails don't have that one, but they can access the strat.
Yep, so you just go in, block your opponent in, and you put them in Walker Jail.
You can literally do this. It's super good in the Hunter cohort. But you could also run a 45-point solo dude, just hang out in the corner. It's like indirect fire. I'll just tank a bunch of it, no problem.
Yep.
So they're fantastic. All the Dragoons do have stealth inbuilt, which is nice. Then moving on, we have the Sidonian Scatros, the brand new model Stiltsman, as he is called. He might be the worst lone op in the game, but we have heard of him. He's up next to the characters.
Oh, okay. He's touching greatness over here. All right, Sidonian Scatros.
Jack hasn't read this book, so this
you can shoot a unit. They get a battle shock. You can reroll wounds against infantry with his D3 damage gun.
One shot.
I'm done with this.
He's the same points as a Neurolictor, by the way. Which
yeah, but the Neurolictors are stupid, right?
Okay, fair enough. He's slightly cheaper than a Vindicare assassin, who's better.
Yes, a Vindicare also is possibly the worst one. Yeah, the worst of the assassins, maybe.
Yeah, he's probably the worst of the assassins. Nah, I don't know.
Maybe the Calexis might be worse. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Those two are fighting, but they're still both better than the Scatros.
For sure.
I think the only place you would actually consider running him is in the Rad Zone court, where you're just trying to frustrate your opponent into oblivion by battle shocking everything on the board.
Yeah. I will say that you're probably, you could say, oh, but he is a lone op. So you get access, but you get access to assassins. So,
Jack, it's not Walker Gel, it's Chicken Coop.
Chicken Coop? Yeah, you put your opponent in the Chicken Coop.
All right, so I have not put him in any of my lists. He needs an actual role.
I liked Dishonored and Dishonored too. I can see the Sidonian Sketchers being cool.
The model is going to break in half as soon as he uses it too. So Tech Priest Dominus, he stayed at 75. He's too pricey for what he brings. Personally, I would have liked to see a 10-point decrease so that he's more competitive with the Manipulus. He's just too expensive. Yes, you get 5 of Pain, but then you don't get the invuln on your breachers. And taking 6 up invulns plus 5 of Pain is just not. It's not it. The one place you would see him is in the Explorator Maniple, where you can get the enhancement for the 4-up invuln, then add the 5 of Pain. That's the one place, but I still think he should go down 10 points and be around 65. Engine Seer, I think he went up 5 from 40, but he did get a nice glow up. He used to give out a 4-up invuln to a vehicle that he tries to heal. That wasn't that impactful. Now he gives out a 5 of Pain, so you can do that on a Castellan robot, a Dragoon, so you don't have to spend the strat if you don't want to. You can throw it onto the Transport, onto the Onager, the Scorpius Dune Riot, the Disintegrator. Any of those things can get a 5 of Pain with him just hanging around. It's not bad for 45 points. I think he's quite good. He also is the only one that can heal. He's the only Tech Priest that can heal anymore.
Which is pretty dope.
Then you have the Manipulus, fantastic at 55 points. If you're running Breachers, he is my first choice. And then the Techno-Archaeologist. He is your 12-inch aura of you can't come in from reserve, and gives +1 OC if he's leading a unit, so you can have the magical Vanguard unit of 30 OC -1 OC to your opponent, and just contest any objective that you want to. He's a very good character. I like having one in my Hunter cohort lists, but he's not needed for sure. And then all of the enhancements are the same as the Codex. They don't really change the enhancements, although they probably should from time to time. So the ones that are the best are in the Hunter cohort, the Clandestine Infiltrator, Veiled Hunter, Battlesphere Uplink. Battlesphere is pricey at 30 points, but it's Fire and Fade, and you can get back into Transport. It's very good. So I really like those ones. And in the Rad Zone core, you can see that the Autoclavic Denunciation is the Omni Sterilizer, but worse. Probably could have used a little decrease there. And then most of them are around the same as you see for enhancements. I'm not going to go through all of them. I went through all of them in the Codex review, but none of them are like outrageous. Like, whoa, why am I paying this much points? They're all pretty reasonable. So those are the AdMech points. Big synopsis is a lot of this stuff is already cheap in the context of the game, but a lot of it also does literally zero. It is just a stat that takes up space on the board and can do an action.
The Dragoons are the clearest example of this. You just use them for screening, move blocking, tagging your opponent, holding objectives. You don't use them to actually fight. I mean, you charge them into units that do fight and just hold them there.
They do an okay. They'll pick up some amount of something, especially if you roll sixes to hit. But you can't count on it. It's force. Anything could happen.
Yeah. The Taser Lance guys are actually pretty tight.
They're
pretty solid.
They are pretty solid, and that's why I run them first. But if you wanted to spam the other new version of Dragoons, you totally could. The biggest winners for me are the ones that got datasheet upgrades and got slightly cheaper or stay basically the same. The Engine Seer, the Sterilizers, the Dragoons now existing at a super cheap price. And then Infiltrator staying cheap is nice. Dune Rider, still a little bit more expensive than some transports, especially because it doesn't have firing deck or the assault ramp, but it got an upgrade on its datasheet, which is nice. I'll take it for 80 points for sure. Call needs to go down. He is an epic model. He's the coolest looking AdMech model. He needs to be 100, 115, somewhere around there. And then he can be just a part of an AdMech list. You still don't have to run him because it makes you ball up, but he could actually bring value to this army. So that's the biggest miss for me. I don't really care about the flyers, even though I have all of them. I don't really like the flyer playstyle, but Belisarius Call should be fundamental to this army. You should want to be able to run him, and he is pointless at 180.
Yep. Before we move on to Necrons, how about we cover the super chats we've gotten?
Let's do it. So we got Zlack Onion with a $10 super chat. Help me understand, what are the flash gets of the AdMech? Also, why is the faction with the Machine Spirit not have any big machines that are cost effective enough to play with? Great questions. Second question is ask Games Workshop. This is their design philosophy. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's what they chose. Now, flash gets of AdMech. Jack.
The flash gets of AdMech. All right. So the thing that defines flash gets to me is, I know they're good now, but is being bad. That's what defines them to me. I'm going to say the Scatros. You just take 3 Scatros.
Just to meme on your opponent?
Just to meme on your
flash
opponent.
gets before this index, Orc Index, were seen barely when you could roll the 6 and shoot again.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I think what Slack Onion is looking for is a unit that you can meme on. And Stilt Boy, you can meme on. You can meme with, you can meme to, you can meme on. He's not good. You can ask about him all the time. You can talk, where's Stilt Boy? Maybe he's up there now. I can't see him. He's too tall. You can talk about him a lot, and you can meme on him. And that's what you're looking for.
He is definitely a meme in this book. He is not for real in any sense of that word. We got Arnok with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Mass Catanless Settlers of Catan. That does work.
It's a pretty good one, too.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. If I were to take the 6 Catan list to an event, my list title would be a URL link to a YouTube video of how to play Settlers, intro to Settlers of Catan, how to play Settlers of Catan.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I think you have to just do that now.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
I've played the 6 Catan list. It is
No, you have to do
fine.
the link. Bring it to an event and put the link.
Put the link in? Yeah.
Put a tracking code on there so you can see how many people actually click it.
I'll get an affiliate link for Settlers of Catan. You can use my code.
Then we've got CAK. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Sorry for going off topic. Just wanted y'all's thoughts on running 6 Death Shroud in a Land Raider for Death Guard. That would be a very expensive package. Probably the most ways that I've seen Death Shrouds run is using Rapid Ingress to get them in, but if your opponent has good screens, a Land Raider guaranteed gets them to the center, and you can do that for turn 2 very easily. that is a lot of points, and Death Guard kind of lean towards MSU, having a lot of different stuff all over the table. In a casual game, that probably isn't bad.
I think it's fine. I think if you're going to put something in a Land Raider, it's probably going to be the Biologist Putrefier plus, God, the names always are a trip. The guy who makes you fight first with the Flamer. Foulblight Spawn. And then 10 Plague Marines. And then you just run that in, you get that into combat, you do a bunch of damage, you have fight first on the crackback, and it's cheaper, I want to say. I don't know.
It's got to be cheaper.
It's got to be, right?
I think Death Shrouds are still very expensive.
I feel like 100. I feel like it's... No, they're not 100 points. I feel like...
I'm not 100%.
I know.
You got that. All right, let's look, because we're right here. We can find out. Because we're done with AdMech. Death Guard, Death Shroud Terminators.
I think they're like 270, I want to say, for...
250 for 6.
250. Well, that's not that bad. That's honestly not that bad. You put a Lord of Virulence or you put Typhus in there, and that's a decent unit. I think the Land Raider is a bit too much of an investment. That's my take there. I think what you want to do is you want to take the Terminators, rapid ingress them, walk them up, and charge. Yeah. That's probably better. All right, Necrons, the army I have actually deep dived myself.
Necrons. So let's start off with, who cares about the Annihilation Barge? We've got these bad boys over here, and if you'll notice,
they didn't go anywhere.
There's no red on there.
Yeah, they just gained a 5 up Feel No Pain, and screw you for asking. They did not go up in points at all.
They lost a point of movement to gain a 5 of Feel No Pain and stay the same cost.
And Nightbringer got +2 damage.
Yes.
Yes. That's good. Very good. They're very, very good. People are like, surely the Catan go over 300? No. And now you look like a fool for saying it.
Not even close.
No, not even close. The Nightbringer, 255.
Yeah, they're priced to move. They are great. The thing is, they also have a detachment, the Hypercrypt, where you can make up for their lack of mobility on the surface.
Yeah, I will say I played that army. I think it's the perfect power level for a meme army, which is just good enough to work.
Yeah.
But it has flaws your opponent can exploit, which is serious lack of OC, kind of a rough time killing anything, and it's super durable, but you're going to have trouble killing your way off of objectives, like taking things, doing stuff like that. But it is just good enough that you can actually take it to events and expect to not go negative. I think that is the perfect place for a meme army.
So Jake rates, any chance of you intentionally sandbagging an event with AdMech to make GW take notice? So the thing is, as memey as some of the datasheets are, and they just need help. They just need to update the datasheets or make the army rule a lot more effective, especially for helping the melee units. If they did that, that would help a lot. Instead, I still think that the Hunter cohort and the playstyle that you can run is actually quite strong. Not necessarily, it's not Aldar, it's not, whatever, the CSM. It's not ludicrously strong and just better than everything around it. But it is very similar to playing AdMech in 9th edition after the nerfs, where yes, the win rate's probably going to be on the lower side because it's a hard army to play.
And expensive, so you don't pick it up quickly.
Yeah, you can't just switch to AdMech. But with exercising player skill, you can still get quite a bit out of the army, specifically the Hunter cohort, I feel that way. I've been doing very well with the Hunter cohort in the games, and you're going to see a bunch of them in the War Room next week is like 2 games from the Hunter cohort. So there's good stuff there. The other detachments feel okay. They feel like fine. Nothing spectacular, but the Hunter cohort has the tools to help you play up into armies, is how I feel about it.
The way that the Codex looks is that there's a lot of dead weight in the army. There's a lot of units that just kind of don't do anything. But if you're not required to take those, and if you don't, and you take just the units that do stuff, the army feels pretty decent, right? Breachers are just a hell of a unit. The priests are pretty dirt cheap for their stat line. The troops are pretty good. The transport's pretty good. Like, you end up with a lot of stuff on the board, and you're not required to take any of the bad units.
Yep. Now, I would prefer having, being able to access a lot of those different units and feel good about it. And hopefully, like I said, a big part of it, I frankly believe, is that their army rule is so restrictive in what it buffs. If they just changed that and made it a bit more powerful, hopefully in the January update, that would go a long way to helping the data sheets feel like they can be impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But The Hunter cohort is good. I have won. I have a winning record with the Hunter cohort right now, so that you can win with that mech.
Yeah.
All right. So back to Necrons. Catan. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No points change whatsoever. Here's a 5-up, feel no pain. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, 1 pip of movement. Going from 7 to 6 is not as big as going from killable to unkillable.
Really?
Just the look on Nick's face when his whole army just completely bounced off of Catan was glorious.
It's good.
It was glorious.
Canoptic Doomstalker. This thing has not because of its data sheet, but because of access to the Canoptic Court, actually can do quite a bit more reasonable damage and access some pretty decent strats.
Reroll hits and then reroll hits on Overwatch when it overwatches on 5s is pretty good.
Yep, it is just very, very solid now. It doesn't have the access to the +1 to hit aura anymore from the Technomancer, as that disappeared. But frankly, with full rerolls to hit, I'd rather the full rerolls.
Yes.
So in a very good spot, specifically in the Canoptic Court. You could technically run it in the Awakened Dynasty as well and get some decent mileage out of it. But Canoptic Court is where it's going to shine.
I could totally see taking like one of those in a super competitive list and just finding one firing angle and staying down it.
Yep, it just stays right there.
Because 135 is, for what it does, for how durable it is dirt cheap.
It is. You look at we read the AdMech tank. This is significantly cheaper and is just good.
Yes, it's just good. It is a bit hard to move around the board, but if you just take 1 or 2, you don't need to try and get to those hard-to-reach firing angles, which you're not going to get to. You can get to the easy-to-reach, good firing angles, and 2 of them can control that.
The Reanimator. It got a severe nerf. It used to be a 12-inch aura of roll an additional die on your reanimations. Now, it is a 1, 2, 3-inch aura.
Yes.
That is significantly less, and 12 inches in the go wide styles that I was trying to play towards the end of before the Codex came out, I didn't even feel I needed to run it. Now, yes, it did get cheaper, but not ridiculously cheap. I really don't think it's going to see very much play. I would
tend to agree with that. What they clearly want you to do is they want you to run it in the center of your army, not behind your army.
Yeah.
And
like the middle of the table, right? Advance it up.
Yep. Advance it up in the center of your ball. And I could try this with the Wraith Swarm plan. 75 points, it goes to somewhere midfield, 1 or 2 of them tag it. I could see that. But realistically, am I doing this? Probably not. I mean, it's the same points cost as one of the spiders that I took. So
or 3 Tomb Blades.
Yeah, swapping it in for the spiders that I took in the YouTube game. Swapping in 1 or 2 reanimators for those spiders is not ludicrous, right? It's dramatically tougher than a spider, and most of the time it's just going to hold space, and that's fine. And occasionally you're nearby, it reanimates, but it's not doing what it used to do. It's not the linchpin of your army anymore.
And I feel like if you run 2 of them, then fine. But if you run 1, it still encourages you to get really tight in a ball, and I think you don't want to do that typically.
Also, I will say in Wraithwall, in the Canoptic Court, your 75-point nonsense units want to be on the fringes, doing actions, holding objectives,
screaming,
not being in the center of your ball, not doing any of that stuff. I could totally see that list that I played. You swap out the 2 spiders for 2 reanimators, and you just go with that. Yep. And that might even be better.
It might. Because, in the matchups where you don't really need to screen, they can just jam up there, and then they support the Catan very nicely.
Yeah, they support the Catan and the Wraiths pretty hard. And you can make your opponent not shoot it, but if they do shoot it, it's got a 4 feel no pain.
But think of some of the top armies, they're spreading the board, man, and they're putting out a lot of damage.
Yeah. I could see running this in the Canoptic Court. I could. It's not doing what it used to do. But I could see running it as just a 75 points for a stat line with a 4 feel no pain for no reason, and occasionally you'll reanimate more. Okay. I'm not excited about it, but I could see running it.
Then Canoptic Scarab Swarms, they got a nice upgrade on their data sheet, which is that they can now access 1 OC if they're near a friendly Cryptek.
Yep. Yeah, if they're within 6 inches of a Cryptek, they get 1 OC, which is huge.
So lets them do they could do actions previously, but now lets them do something like a secure no man's where you actually control the objective.
Yep, lets you do things like Cleanse, where they can walk on, control it, and then do the action, rather than needing a friend. They got a lot better.
Yep. 40 points, very cheap for the just 3 little bodies. Spiders, they're very good in the Canoptic Court. Wraiths, you don't see any red text there.
They didn't go up. I mean, they didn't go down, you know.
They didn't go down.
Yeah, they didn't go up. They gained a 4th wound. They gained Technomancer access. They are probably the best data sheet in this entire book.
In the index, they were overcosted at that price point. But then once you add in that the Technomancer can join them, and on top of that, they gained a 4th wound, that's money.
Yeah,
that's
Wraiths are just insane.
Yep.
Like, they're just insane.
Command Barge stays the same. Chronomancer stays the same. Convergence of Dominion is the fortification. Now you can take them 1, 2, or 3. Like I said, it deploys in your backfield, and it's another Ori you have to string back to. It's just not happening.
Does it screen? Does it, like,
It's a
9-inch deep strike?
It's a model.
But it's 60 points. You can do that for cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The thing I will say about Wraiths before we
It has 0
move on,
C, so you can't just put it near an objective and hold.
Yeah, the Convergence of Dominion is crap. The thing about Wraiths, back to a good data sheet.
You're like, I'm done with talking about it.
Convergence of Dominion, convergence of whatever, I don't care. The thing about Wraiths is that they're not broken in a way that's going to, like, they're really, really good because they're super tough. They have a bunch of OC, and they can kill skirmish units pretty good. Their damage output is kind of garbage for their points cost, which means that they are, in my opinion, balanced. They're just quite good.
They do A roll very well.
They do A roll very well. If they had, like, 5 attacks at, like, 622, then we're talking, like, broken, like, this army is nuts. But the fact it's 4 attacks at 611 that hit on 4s, 612, sorry, that hit on 4s, even with the rerolls, it's like, all right, there is a way to navigate around this, and I'm not going to die too fast to Wraiths, which is good.
Speaking of another datasheet that was unloved, Cryptothaws lost their 4 Pain, and they can no longer go in like Lich Guard squads where they were super helpful for tanking. They stayed at the same upgraded points cost. They started at 40, they went to 60, but didn't receive a datasheet nerf in the September balance update. Now they just stay at 60 with a worse datasheet. Yikes.
Yeah, it's not great. I think they could have gone to 40 and it would have seen 0 impact. Like, it would have, you might have included them, but it wouldn't have been insane.
Yeah, it's just a couple up, because the thing is, reanimation is significantly nerfed on those big brick units anyway.
Yep, and you can't put them in the Lich Guard, things like that.
Yep. So miss there. Death marks.
They're the cheapest 5-body unit you can take by 5 points. If you have 65 points left and not 70, you'll probably take some death marks.
The Doom Scythe. This thing is ludicrously overcosted.
Yeah, if you could pick the crit 5s, I still don't think it's worth it. But instead, your opponent, you get to be like, please, sir, can I have some crit 5s? And your opponent's like, no.
No, I'm going to take a -1 to hit and live.
Yeah.
Yeah, how is it 230? That is just absolutely ludicrous. It might be one of the most overcosted units in the game.
I mean, if they're doing that with flyers, I'm perfectly okay with it. I hate the flyer mechanics, especially with, like, old towering where they just get to see over terrain and shoot you.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not going to fix the mechanics, I'd much rather the units not be good.
Don't worry, it's not going to see very much play.
Fantastic.
As somebody who really liked running Doom Scythes at 9th, yeah, it's ludicrously overcosted.
Right. DDAs went down 10, and they
15,
went up.
Right?
I thought they were either way. They went down to 200. Yeah. And they went up to strength 18 instead of strength 16.
Yep.
So they wound toughness 9 on 2s, which is dope.
Yep. Still a very solid tank. It's a bit pricey for what you get because it can be inconsistent, but there are builds where you would want to run either one, just hanging out on a flank, or you run a bunch of them, and they do have quite a bit of anti-infantry shots as well. They still really like the Awakened Dynasty for that +1 to hit aura, or the Silent King. Fleet ones, one of the infiltrating units that you can access, pretty cheap for what you get. It's not like super cheap, but it's fine. Ghost Ark, this is the big one. I think it could have gone down a bit more. I know Warriors went down a little bit, but I would have liked to see the Ghost Ark go down a bit more as well, so that package was a bit cheaper.
I think 125 is just a bit on the pricey side. They're trying to do the thing where it buffs your units when they're out of the transport, and for that it costs probably more than it should.
Yeah, it's still a very durable transport. It probably is one of the most durable transports, but its rule doesn't help as much anymore in how they designed this codex. So I would have liked to see it get a bit cheaper, not ludicrously cheaper, but something like 110.
Just a little bit, yeah. The hex mark hitting 70 is not bad. It's cool.
Yeah, he was 80. His data sheet is worse now.
It's your only source of lone op in the book, other than Xeris, who has to be near someone.
Yep.
So if you want to include him, honestly, he's not bad. He's fine. He's not going to, like, burn the world down or anything. He's not insane. But if you need a loan up, if you want a loan up, he's your best bet. Xeris is not really a loan up.
He's also a deep striker,
intents and purposes.
like the Death Marks.
Yeah.
Luminor Xeris. He's down to 160.
Yeah, this dude rocks.
He is a 3-inch aura of +1 AP and -1 to incoming AP for your battle line. So your warriors or immortals. It's immortals. He makes immortals quite tanky, where your opponent really has to commit to try and get through the unit.
Surprisingly tanky. And then if you have a Resorb and you have reanimation, you're just like, oh look, you killed 6 of them.
D6 back, reanimation, another D3, boom.
Back to full shooting.
Yeah, so he is fantastic. If you're running at least 20 immortals, I like slotting him in. Particularly once you get to that 30 category, he's just auto-take.
I think 30 immortals plus Xeris is like a pretty solid... What is that? That's like 900 points? A little bit north of that, I think. And that's pretty good. It's a pretty good package to slot in for that price point.
900 points for 30 immortals?
It depends on... I'm including the characters that go in there.
Oh, okay,
well. Yeah. I'm talking about immortals plus the 2 characters that go in them times 3 plus Xeris. And I think that comes out to a bit over... if you go the Translocation Shroud, guys, it comes out to an even 1,000. And if you go 3 Royal Wardens, it comes out to 880, which makes sense because it's 40 additional points apiece. And if you go somewhere in the middle, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. It's going to be either 929 or 980, something like that.
Yeah, I think he is priced to move. If you liked the Immortal builds, and I was running quite a few of them
929.60
before the Codex came out, the build is much strong. Like, the Immortal build is much stronger in the new Codex.
Yes.
By a good degree, and Illuminator getting cheaper is a massive boon to that.
He also does get reroll hits because he's a Cryptek.
Yep.
Yeah. I do think that 30 Immortals plus the 6 characters that want to go in them plus Xeris is a really good way to spend 900 to 1,000 points. So it's just a really solid way to do it. You give up Assassinate like nobody's business, especially if you take Wraiths on top of that.
Yep. Which you almost certainly
You probably do.
Canoptic Court.
You probably do. Especially since you can, if you go on the cheaper end of that, I think you can fit in the Nightbringer as well.
You definitely can.
Yeah. So 880 plus 860 plus 255, it's 1995. There's your list. I just wrote it for you. Mm-hmm. That's the 3 Royal Warden version plus Xeris plus the Nightbringer plus 18 Wraiths. And that is pretty good.
That's a lot of OC2 everywhere.
A lot of OC2, and it's everywhere.
All right. Imatech the Stormlord. He has keyword issues, but 100 points is not bad for gaining an extra CP, and he can do some amount of damage. So I think he's solid. He's probably could go down like a little bit, like a 90 points, but 100 points is not the end of the world. Locust Destroyers, they stay super cheap, like 30. The fact that you can run a 1-model unit for 30 points, that's just good for when you have those weird number of points at the end. And then the 6-man unit, and then you could throw a Lord in there. It's not that expensive. Hypercrypt loves it. Veil, you throw the Veil on there in Awakened Dynasty. It's just a solid unit.
Yeah. I have a theory.
And they got a data sheet buff, like we talked about.
Yeah, I have a theory that the Canoptic Court wants them because you take a bunch of toughness 6 duders with a 3-up armor save 4 pinvuln, and then behind that you're just like, all right, I'll take a bunch of Locust Destroyers that are also toughness 6, also the 3-up, not an invuln, but whatever, and then some Scorpex, and you try and go wide that style, and we'll see if I can...
And the fine thing is that
now the big point.
Them and Scorpex both have the rerolls that they need on their data sheets and don't need the Canoptic Court rules.
Bingo. Because I will tell you, the Destroyer Cult one is bad. It's not good. It buffs the units technically, but not in any way that makes a difference.
Yep. The Heavy stayed at 50, which is a little pricey, but it's fine.
It's fine. I think 150 for a unit that puts out that many shots is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's the Gauss version that suffers. The one shot.
Yeah, I think the Gauss version is, like, fine. It's fine. They reanimate, which is dope. Like, if they wing one of them, then you're going to be at 3 next time you shoot. Like, but still, I would say, yeah.
Locust Lord is perfectly fine. 80 points. You get crit 5s.
Yeah, he's alright.
Yep, and you also get a Resorb in that unit, and you can put an enhancement on him to help buff the unit.
Yeah.
So.
I like Locust Destroyers. I like Locust Destroyers with Locust Lord. I like Heavy Destroyers with Locust Lord. Okay. There's a lot of room in here to be good.
Lichguard get a huge points drop. They went up significantly in the previous update because they could get every buff in the world and be quite durable and annoying for most armies to deal with, and you were seeing 22 10-man bricks. They lost a lot.
They did lose a lot, but
no more
some of what
Cryptex.
they lost are points.
Yep, no more Cryptex going inside, no Crypto Thralls inside to help tank, and so they're not getting a Feel No Pain from a Technomancer. It's a pretty big deal, so their durability is dramatically less, and their combat prowess, as Jack pointed out in the tier list, is not that great.
It's a bit mid. They definitely need... They just need an additional attack. Honestly, their stat line would be fine if they had +1 attack. But their stat line is a bit anemic.
But they are now super cheap for a couple 2-wound dudes with a 4-up invuln, because you probably still run the invuln.
Yep. If you want to take them with a Lord, you are going to get a unit that is more durable than the points than it should be. Like, it's just more durable than it should be at its points cost. And maybe you can stack that with Wraiths, who are also more durable than they should be at their points cost. And maybe you can get somewhere with that. At 17 points a model, Lichguard's stat line is not what it used to be. They're pretty anemic, but at 17 points a model...
It's a relatively durable skirmisher now.
Yeah.
So if instead of going for like Tomb Blades, where you have like a speed, hangs out on the flanks, does that type of thing, this is more I advance it up and then I start doing actions. I do a cleanse, I string out, I do like a little bit of move blocking in a middle ruin to make you have to charge around.
It takes a real unit to kill it.
Yep.
And it takes a real unit to put it down. It's not like that hard to kill, but it is harder to kill than its points would suggest, and alright, you can get value out of that.
Now, one thing about them is that in the obeisance,
Yes.
people got very angry about the pronunciation.
Yes.
Obeisance phalanx.
I'm going to whip out the oldest excuse in the book. It wasn't us being stupid. We were just farming content.
It is actually funny. Sometimes people get big mad about it. But anyway, the thing about that detachment is you can get +1 to wound on them.
Yes.
Which is not bad. They're also, you can give them +1 OC. You can do a variety of things with them. Fight on death. So if you still like the larger bricks and really want to run a Royal Court type of list, that's the way to do it, probably.
Yeah. I think that they could have done something. They could have taken this opportunity to do something exciting with the datasheet.
I think what they should have done.
And they just didn't. Now it's just an undercosted stat line, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, as I said previously, they should just follow the lore and let them mix unit. So you can have a couple war sites, a couple shields. It's cool. Or they should just delete the Destroyer cult detachment and write an actual melee detachment.
Yeah. I'm kind of with David in the chat here that I think Reanimator's actually pretty... I think Reanimator's fine. It's
almost
not...
unkillable vehicle? No.
It's not almost unkillable, but it's more... It's tougher to kill than it should be, which is kind of a theme here. And... if you don't look at it as I'm going to base my army around being around this one model, I think it's a fine unit.
I really like it with Catan specifically.
Yes.
In a Catan spam type of list, I like it there. You can run it in the Immortal Castle because the Immortals are going to be relatively close to Xeris already. And then, okay, you're close to Xeris, you might as well put the Reanimator right there and get the extra D3, and that's totally fine as well.
Yeah, I could see running several of them in a Wraithwall style list, and just, if I happen to be near them, that's dope. If I happen to not be near them, they're probably on an objective, getting lone opt, getting, being more annoying to kill than it should be. And the question is, are you going to divert shots to like a Reanimator when it's really tough to kill, or are you going to go after the Wraiths? And the answer is you're going to go after the Wraiths, which means the Reanimators are just not going to get shot. I could see Reanimators still being pretty good in Canoptic Court. Just not in the same role.
Yeah, it's not a defensive anchor of the army where you string back to it.
Absolutely
and
not.
Like, have warriors reanimating all over the place. Doesn't do the same role. But it really helps on the units that are super durable already to give an additional D3.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like it. It also helps Wraiths get over it. Sometimes on Wraiths, I've noticed, I've played several games with the army already. Sometimes Wraiths, have 2 wounds missing and you roll a 2 on the reanimation. And then they don't heal an extra guy. And then the Technomancer is just sad, staring at his unit being like, I could have healed you. But if you have the Reanimator nearby, you're almost always getting a new guy back, and then the Techno gets to dink heal him up to full on the following turn.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on, we have the Monolith, stays at 350, which in the Hypercrypt is probably a good price for it. Outside of that, it probably still can get cheaper, honestly, but in the Hypercrypt, it actually has quite a bit of synergy.
What is this?
The Monolith. at 350.
I see.
It's quite pricey. Necron Warriors, now they're 10 points a model. The 20-man still have quite a bit of play in the Hypercrypt because of the potential of the 3.1 away. But like I said, like the transport style that Necrons could have had, it's a little too pricey, I think, still, with the Ghost Arc being 125, Warriors at 100.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think Warriors, I see people saying like 8, 9 points. I think somewhere in there have been reasonable. Yep. I think 10 is just a little too pricey.
Their datasheet nerf was significant.
It's significant. Now, I will say, as you said, 20 of them in the Hypercrypt with a Chronomancer to Deep Strike 3 away and then move. Sounds really annoying. It sounds really annoying. But I don't think that makes the datasheet in and of itself like insane or anything.
Night Scythe. That is a fine price for a flyer. Honestly, you can come in turn 1, put your infantry unit in there.
I have had people telling me, I know Ghetto from Team Poland reached out to me and said, hey, there's a little bit more play here than you guys might have seen. If you can rapid ingress it on turn 1, which you might be able to do. If you can rapid ingress on turn 1, drop units where you want, hop them back in, play a shell game with it. I think there could be some weird play with that. I don't know if that's like...
You mean with the Chronomancer? With the shoot and scoot getting back in?
It might be with the Chrono. I forget.
But you could read the data sheet. But it can definitely come in turn 1, regardless of mission rules, is what it says.
Okay, so yeah, if you can wrap it on turn 1, then drop a unit of Immortals out of it.
Then use the Chronomancer to scoot back in.
Yeah.
Because it's a different phase.
Yeah. It depends if you're allowed to rapid ingress it, which the tournaments will have to rule on. Because it says it can be set up in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase. So whether that that goes, whether the rapid ingress counts as that, I don't know.
Grey Knights have the same wording, and events have ruled no, you cannot.
Yes, but everything seems to get ruled slightly differently because every rule is worded slightly differently, and we'll have to see. But I'm sure
that's the same wording as the Grey Knight turn 1, I believe. So if that follows, then you probably can't rapid ingress at turn 1. And honestly, still, it's going to get shut. It's not like a transport that's hiding behind the wall that your opponent has to really overcommit to get an angle on. It's just there. It's tall, it's big, it's fat. You can shoot it. So, like, how many turns are you really going to get value out of this? I don't know. Yeah. I think if you want Immortals to do aggressive damage turn 1, or, like, basically starting turn 2 is the Hypercrypt.
He also pointed out, Ghetto pointed out that you control the hell out of World Eaters with it. Because you drop the flyer down, get out, shoot, get back in the flyer, and you're like, you can't charge me, I'm a flyer.
Can't Angron charge?
Angron is the only thing, but you are forcing him to go there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If it says the movement phase, which is I think how most of them were worded.
That's my take on it, but I'll say I'm just gonna leave it to the events to rule it.
Obelisk, terrible. I don't know what price point you would put it at to make it enticing. This is the one that you pick a unit with an 18 and you can have its move and advance and stuff, but then it's a giant thing that doesn't shoot that hard.
Yeah. The Night Scythe picks up a unit within 6 and throws it in the transport just at the end of the movement phase on its data sheet.
Oh, okay.
So it is decent for that. You drop it in, you get your unit out, you blow something up, and then you just immediately hop back into the Night Scythe. So you don't need the Chrono, is what you're saying. You don't need the Chrono, so you can take a Plasmancer. That is not bad. It's a little pricey for that, but it is a not bad use. If you can rapid ingress that on turn 1, I could totally see that being a package you could run. I really could. It's a little on the pricey side, but I could see it.
I thought you were going to look up the Obelisk again.
Not a shot. No shot on that.
So yeah, it's just bad. It's had bad rolls constantly. I don't know what they need to do to make it worthwhile, but it's just a bunch of stats that has a cool rule that's not worth a 325 point unit. The Ophidian Destroyers, could have really seen them going down just a bit. 100 points.
I think 90 would have been fine.
Yeah, 100 points is quite pricey for what you get, since their combat isn't that amazing, and then their defense also isn't that amazing. I think they could have used a little decrease, but 100 points is not the end of the world. Orican, significantly nerfed. He probably could have went down a little bit as well, since the warrior package is not ideal. Overlord, the basic Overlord needs to be cheaper. The Translocation Overlord is dramatically better.
Keep forgetting he's 85. Why is the regular Overlord 85? I just don't see it.
I don't know. And because they deleted the basic Lord, he's not competing with that character anymore.
He is slow boy.
He can just drop like 10, 15, 20 points, and that'd be fine.
Yeah.
You probably still wouldn't see him. You'd probably still spend the premium to get the Translocation Shroud.
Yeah. People arguing in the chat that you can take the Convergence of Dominion to hold your backfield. You can do that with a lot of things. The Convergence is OC 0, so you're not holding any objectives with it. So I hope you have a second unit back there to hold the objective.
The Reanimator.
Yeah, the Reanimator!
Then you have the actual Overlord with Translocation Shroud. Same exact points, better in pretty much every way. There's no reason not to run him, so the Overlord just needs to get cheaper. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Plasmancer, very good at 55 points. Psychomancer, also 55 points. I think he went up 5 points, but he is way better than he was.
He went from useless to useful, so I'll take it.
Yep. Royal Warden stays at a dirt cheap 40 points. Fantastic character. Scorpec Destroyers, 100 points, 200 for 6. It's like, basically you're paying 33 point something points per model.
Their datasheet rule went from useless to useful. They went from ignoring mods, which is not horrible, but not good, to re-rolling hits on the charge, re-rolling ones to hit. Otherwise, this unit actually hits hard. Like, it actually just hits hard. Mm-hmm. And I like Scorpex.
Yep, I think it's fine. I wish the Destroyer Cult detachment was a bit stronger.
Yeah.
That would have been helpful.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
But then we have the Scorpec Lord, who is the same price as 3 Scorpex, which is ludicrous. Just actually insane.
They needed to make a model that is the size of 3 Scorpex climbing on each other with a gigantic blade. Do anything at all, please. Why is he 4 attacks?
He's competing with the Obelisk for like worst data sheet.
I feel like they keep pricing him by looking at the model, not looking at the rules. Like, they look at the model like, damn, that dude slams. We got to give him a lot of points. We got to make him expensive. And they just, like, forget that there's this thing called a data sheet where he has 4 attacks. I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's embarrassingly bad at 100.
He's huge with a giant sword. Make him hit hard.
Yeah. I don't know.
2 additions.
He certainly doesn't hit as hard as 3 Scorpex. Okay, Technomancer stays at 60 points. Absolute steal. Does lose the Lone Op ability, but can now join Wraiths, and is just awesome.
The Techno? Yeah, Techno's
just
insane.
Awesome.
Techno's great.
Tesseract Vault, I believe, I forget what he was at. He was at like 375, so he goes up a little bit.
I think 375, yeah. Went up 25 points, you get to use a second gun.
Still, if you like the Tesseract Vault, you can still run him. Still very good. If you like that type of style of spamming indirect giant bodies.
Yeah.
Silent King stays at 420. I think he could use a bit of a decrease, frankly. And should you get the Triarch keyword, so he interacts with the Obeisance detachment. Then we have the Tomb Blades. They got a different data sheet. They're not as durable as they were previously because they can't stack both defensive buffs. But now they can actually get a shoot and scoot.
It's so stealth, which is super aggravating for your opponent because if they don't get all 3, they heal up so fast.
This is a great skirmisher.
It's so good.
So good. I always run at least 2 in my list. I think they're fantastic.
Well, the Transcendent Catan lost his 4 at Feel No Pain, so that's... Wait a minute. He went down? He went down in points?
Went down 25 points, and you can't get the enhancement anymore, but he has a native 5 of Feel No Pain. That's perfect.
That's perfect. And I will say, the second Transcendent Catan that you take is wildly better than the second one you could take before.
Yeah. So if you want to run multiple Catan, this is the time. They made it possible. And then Trazen, like we said, he's just not particularly good. Triarch Praetorians, so 120 points for the 5 model unit. Jack is going to be running them in his next list.
Not the next list, but some point.
The next list, 100%.
Not the next one. They're a little expensive.
Expensive.
I think 100 points would have been fine. I think 120 is a little on the pricey side. I'm not sure what they were scared of here, but something.
It's the fact is, previously, they had that combo with the reroll wound strat to proc a bunch of dev wounds. Now it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So even that niche case scenario, as 5 guys who are relatively fast fly infantry, it's fine, but it's not making the list.
Yeah. David, my choice as to the Catan order that you take is probably the Nightbringer first. If you're taking one Catan, I think the Nightbringer solves a lot of problems the Necrons have in damage-wise. Mm-hmm. He is 255 is the cheapest one. He's very durable. Like they all are. Then I think the second one is the Transcendent, and then probably the third is the Void Dragon, because you need help dealing with like big vehicles. Things like Armigers, Knights, War Dogs, things in that, Land Raiders, things in that area are what is tough for you to deal with. And the Nightbringer actually hits that stuff harder than the Void Dragon would, but the Void Dragon hits way harder than the Transcendent Catan, that sort of stuff. And that's the stuff I think you need help with before you need a second teleporting Catan, I think.
I think I go Nightbringer, Void Dragon, and specifically, yes, Jack mentioned killing vehicles, which can be a problem for Necrons.
He heals more.
It's the healing.
Yeah.
I think the healing puts him over the edge where it's actually quite difficult to get it. You really have to kill him in one go. Because most armies have just like a Rhino in the middle of the table, some sort of random vehicles around that you can proc the heal back. Then you have the Technomancer and the reanimation in your command phase. It can be very difficult to get through him. So I think I go Nightbringer, Void Dragon, then the Transcendent.
Yep. I think then after
They're
that,
close,
you
though.
go another Transcendent. I don't think you get to the Deceiver or the third Transcendent, really. I think you cap out at like 3 Catan in most lists, unless you're going for the lulls. And if you're going for the lulls, that list is okay. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It's okay. It's workable.
Yep.
The Deceiver is probably worth including the 6 Catan build. I mean, if you run 6 Catan, you have to run the Deceiver. That's how math works. But it's probably worth going 6 Catan over 5 Catan, because if you're going for the lulls, you go for the lulls.
Yeah.
And the Deceiver is OC 6, which helps. He's a little more durable because he has stealth, which helps. But still, his shooting, not great. His combat is probably the worst of the bunch. And
like if you're going for Settlers
awesome.
of Catan, you go full Settlers.
I mean, you go the full Settlers, right? What are you taking, 5 Catan? Get out of here.
It definitely is a conversation. The Catan are all closer than they were previously.
Yeah, the Deceptors, the redeploy is just not
The Deceptor.
good. Just not great. I called him the Deceptor the entirety of KC teams when I ran him and the Void Dragon. I just was like, the Deceptor will do this. And everyone's like, what? And I'm like, don't worry about it.
Then we have the Triarch Stalker. This guy could use a bit of a decrease. Not like a significant one, but his status sheet is just okay. He's not really what Necrons need, frankly, for 125. I think at like a 105, I would actually consider taking one.
Okay, I could see that. I think the Triarch Stalker, it has Scout 9.
Scout 8, I think.
Sure. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It has Scout
Yeah.
bigger than 6. And that's fine. It has a
just-
gun that...
He's such a weird
Isn't
model.
awesome.
He's like this big in terms of profile because all the legs are hanging out.
I think the problem is if you make him too much cheaper, Scout plus how durable he is would get out of hand, I think. Because, was it 12 wounds?
Yeah, it's 12 wounds.
12
4
wounds
up,
with a
invul.
3 up, 4 up, and reanimation is just hard to get through. And in 125, it's not worth it because his gun is a joke. But at like 105, Scout plus a huge base plus tough to kill is like, okay, that could get very aggravating, actually.
Yeah, but I think most armies are like objective contested, tied up in combat. Who cares?
Yep. For the record, Mr. Smiley, you do not get 3 Catan's Wraiths and Immortals. That does not happen.
Yeah, you have to decide. You have to cut something.
You get the Wraiths, and you can get Immortals and like the Nightbringer. You can get some Immortals and like 2 Catan. You get 3 Catan and Trash. Those are your options. They're all pretty good.
Yes, the Obeisance Phalanx can actually get +1 to wound for that Stalker.
The Stalker gets +1 wound in Basins?
It's Triarch.
Oh, it's Triarch. All right.
It's fine.
Sure. You might even manage to get some kills with the gun.
Hey, if you throw the Silent King around him, he's going to be popping off.
Popping off is a strong word.
So I think a little decrease there would have been fine. Canoptic Acanthites,
They're not good.
they're
Not durable. They don't do damage.
The rule is niche.
Their rule is niche.
Okay.
I don't love them.
Then we have the Tomb Sentinel and the Tomb Stalker. And you might be thinking, wow, that Tomb Stalker probably is the good one with the gun and the good roll. No, it's the Sentinel, who gives, he takes -1 to incoming AP if he's on an objective, or +1 if he's targeting you on an objective. That's a very good roll.
Decent gun.
9 wounds, 4 up in the Canoptic Core, can get the full reels to hit. Quite solid. Tomb Stalker, on the other hand, is a pile of heaping garbage.
Yeah, the Tombstalker sacrificed having a gun at all. I mean, he has a gun technically, but like, let's be serious here. His gun is terrible. His gun is like 1 damage or something. I forget. I looked it up and then immediately forgot what I looked up. It was bad. But instead of having the Tomb Sentinel's non-existent combat, he gets what can technically be described as combat. It's like 6 attacks at like 6/1/2 with a rule. And it's either sustained or lethal, and I'm not going to look it up.
He's 15 points more.
He's 15 points more. He does not have a gun. He functionally does, but he doesn't. Yeah, he's not great. He's not good.
Seraptic, 540 is just a lot. It does shoot pretty decently hard, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Tesseract Arc. Tesseract Arc is pretty hot. I like the Tesseract Arc, actually.
At 130, it's quite reasonable.
130, it's pretty good. It doesn't benefit from any of the detachments, but that's okay. It auto-hits with its Flamer, which is pretty good. You can get 2 other guns. I like the Tesseract Arc.
Will they change the Forge World Gloom Prisms, which have the old 4-up Theanopane against Psychic? Possible. They also might not be, because they really haven't edited much Imperial Armor stuff at all. So it could just stay as the old rule, and then you have both of the spiders and them offering different bonuses.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
I think it's fine either way. I don't think the Gloom Prism is particularly exciting.
I actually like the new version, 5-up against mortals and psychic attacks.
I think it's not bad there. A lot of the units that army wants to take already have a Theanopane. I do think like 1 spider to give all of your immortals a 5-up against mortals is pretty good.
I like them a lot in the immortal build, yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But other than that, I think the rest of that build probably already has a 5-up or 4-up or whatever.
Yep.
Either way.
All right, and we went through all the enhancements in the Codex review, but let's just look at the Canoptic Court, like...
Dimensional Sanctum for 20 is
Infiltrate.
Pretty good.
This is the reroll 1s to wounds, and this is the... gain a CP if your opponent spends 1 on a 2-up.
It's gain a CP on a 2-up when an opponent's ability gives them 1.
Like Abaddon or all the various things that can...
Not when they gain 1 off of a card.
Yep. I still think for 15 points it's not bad, especially if you go for the Immortals where you want to use the Dev Wound strat more often, then I quite like it there.
Yeah, the problem is, Eldar give you themselves an extra CP, and it's pretty good into Eldar. After Eldar, I don't think it's that awesome, because people aren't taking Abaddon right now. It's good into Calgar, but there's just a vanishingly small amount of abilities that give CP. Now, 2 of the top 5 armies right now do use it, which keeps it relevant.
Yep.
But we'll see how that goes, going forward.
I think it's like you have an extra random amount of points. You can throw it into an Immortal build, because the Immortals actually want the extra CP. It's not going to come up all the time, but it's fine.
And the Metallodermal Tesla Weave is, if you have 10 points left, is what you buy. Yep. It's the shock mortals when your opponent charges.
More realistically, you go back to your list and I'm not doing this.
I mean, if you have everything that you want, just throw Metallodermal, and then occasionally your opponent's going to be like, wait, I take some mortals? You're like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be fine, though.
So that is that. So overall for Necrons, pretty darn good update, frankly.
Yeah.
There are a couple units that are overcosted, but honestly, most things are in the sweet spot, and some things are really good.
I'm very excited for Necrons. Good. I think both of us feel like the army got better with the Codex than it did before.
I think so. I think it got certainly more interesting. Maybe... the thing is, there were enough armies in the game that could just one-shot the durable bricks, and at that point, if you play into them, it sucks. If you don't play into them and can just run over your opponent, especially Eldar opponents, it was awesome. But this army is still really good into Eldar. I think it plays in MSU style better, which is better into a lot of other armies, and it just has more diverse builds. So I'm excited about that.
I think it's an army now rather than one very hyperlinear game plan. And I think that the hyperlinear game plan that either worked or it didn't was not really fun for everyone overall. And I don't know. Let's cover some super chats.
Yeah, we got Zlack Onion here with a $5 super chat. Thanks so much, Zlack Onion. What's the best way to explore a maniple? Stilts, gigantic robot chicken legs piloted by a friend, Electropony, or Hyundai? Well, guess what? I am actually playing the Explorator maniple for AdMech today on stream at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is going to be against Quentin Space Wolf. So if you want to check it out, that video is already up for, you can click the notification button for when we go live.
And I will say, stilts, giant robotic chicken legs piloted by a friend, and electric ponies are all far more reliable than a Hyundai. I chant the litanies of the devout, the litanies of the Omnissiah to my Hyundai every day, and I just pray that it decides to ferry me to work. Sometimes it doesn't. It's out of the shop now. Thank God for that.
We've got Yukon Damon. Thanks so much for joining with the bronze tier of the War Room. I very much appreciate your support. And then Shell, the #1 Servo Skulls enjoyer. Okay. $5 super chat. Thank you so much. All right, hear me out. Hypercrypt Seraptic comes out of reserve within 3. Give it a 4-up invuln. I'm positive that this would be funny. The thing is, it's so gigantic that coming in within 3 is still like where you would have walked up to anyway.
You start getting screened by buildings.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the giant models, they're not really made for the terrain density of 10th edition.
Which is fine. You use them for like large battlefields, right?
Yeah. But like competitive terrain formats, like some of the heavy WTC boards, like where is it ever going? Nowhere. So it's cool for apocalypse games, but in like top competitive, probably not going to see it. But in casual games with lighter terrain, you could totally play it.
All right, let's grab up some. Let's grab up some of these updates. Can you scroll down and just make sure there's not any more? Okay, yeah, that's just the index cards.
Index cards, which we can look at if you want. All right, so whoops,
Let's toss this over.
Yep.
The screen. There were some updates to the FAQs and whatnot. I assume that these will be highlighted in red when they're new.
I would hope so.
There we go.
Brother Corbulo, baby!
He's got a leader change. He can join Assault Intercessors and Stern Guard. Hell yeah, brother. There's now no distinction between Firstborn and Primaris.
Captain Tycho can join Company Heroes.
Dante can join Assault Intercessors with jump packs.
Okay.
Sick. I mean, about time.
Death Company Intercessors, Grenade Launcher is AP2. Death Company Dreadnought has Dreadnought now.
I mean, no, I think that's old, right? The red ones are the new
just
ones.
The red ones.
This is purely them updating units to be able to join the new units
stuff
in the new Space Marine book, which is good. But I'm surprised it took this long because it's not that hard.
It's a lot of typing, Jack.
There's a lot of typing, I suppose.
So, yeah, all this stuff, Assault Intercessors with jump packs being able to be joined by various things, which is fine. Okay.
Can you go up and see if like Helbrecht changed at all?
I did not see.
I don't think so. That's okay. Helbrecht has a unit he wants to join his Sword Brethren. They slam. All right. Asmodai,
Azrael can get the Company Heroes, which
Ziki.
is nice. Proteus Kill Team, you can attach Stern Guard vets, blah, blah, blah. Corvus Blackstar, it can join each Centurion. You can put Centurions in there.
I'm assuming they just didn't have Centurion on the datasheet, so they were like, oh, wow, you just put 12 Centurions in a Corvus? That's my guess. I have not checked this.
Deathwatch Veterans, same thing. If a character can join Stern Guard or the Vanguard, can go in there. All right, probably nothing else has changed. Blood Claws. Grey Hunters are damage 2? They weren't
on a grav gun. On a grav gun. Yeah. Their grav guns were damage 1. Whee!
Hilarious.
Your army cannot, if you're running Champions of Rust, you can't include an apothecary. And the reason for that was before, I believe it was a Primaris apothecary. But they've just changed all apothecaries to just apothecary.
Okay, and that's that. Nothing like really relevant too much. Space Wolves. Is there?
I think it's probably the same change.
Is it just the same stuff, and that was just the synopsis?
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if this is going to be highlighted in red.
I wouldn't really know the difference on Space Wolves, I'll be honest with you.
Yep. Honestly,
is
there anything impactful here, chat, that requires any sort of commentary?
I think it's just being able to join the units that they came out with like a month ago.
Cool.
Or 2 months ago or something.
Well, unless chat says there's something actually genuinely impactful, we can talk about it, but otherwise...
I like that you can join Company Heroes with... Oh, what can Mephiston join?
Mephiston?
Can he join Company Heroes? We skipped past that. We both love Mephiston. We're Mephiston enjoyers.
A huge fan of the Mephiston.
Yeah, Mephiston...
Let me just look at the change log. Index cards...
Scroll down to the Bengals.
We've got...
And...
I don't see Mephiston change.
Did they really not I mean, I assume he can't join Company Heroes because...
Let's see if they forgot to put it in the changelog, but put it into here.
My guess is he can't join Company Heroes because he's not a chapter master.
Yeah.
Or captain. So, I mean, that honestly, it makes sense.
Yeah.
No. Okay, well, whatever. He can join Assault Intercessors, and that's fine.
There is a lot of
he can't join Blade Guard? Alright, screw you, Blood Angel writer, man. Come on!
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I mean, does he give them fight first? Sure, but so does the Justiciar. Like, you can already give them fight first.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay.
Make Mephiston great again.
Make Mephiston great again. I would, for sure. But anyway, so in terms of the updates, pretty decent ones. The points cost in the Codex for AdMech was ludicrous, so thankfully they stuck pretty closely to the current MFM, or the previous MFM, which was much more reasonable. There's still a lot of stinkers in there that need rules changes. Making them even cheaper just means they're a cheap body, and you still don't get to use like that unit as doing something cool. So I hope they just go back in and fix some of those data sheets. They just need help. Just admit the original index, not good. Codex, you copied most of the stuff over, still not good. Just fix it.
Yeah, the data sheets were... There's some data sheets that are very well designed, not that many in AdMech. And those will carry forward into a Codex very well, and they'll take buffs, and they'll kind of be evergreen because they don't really want to change stat lines. But if you're stuck with a lot of units that were just poorly... The unit itself is not well put together, then that's going to get carried into the Codex. That's going to get carried into a lot of the rules that apply to it. And then if it wants to be good, it has to be dirt cheap.
Yeah, making the army cheaper this isn't fun.
No.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think this is now enshrined in a Codex, but it's not too late for some of the other armies out there that have stinker units. We can, hopefully GW can...
Well, they're willing to go back and change the data sheets. We just went through index cards. Just change some of these AdMech ones. Just change them.
Yeah.
So Necrons, on the other hand, they are in a very good spot. There's more build diversity here. There's options. There's a couple strong detachment choices. And I think the army is in a very good spot.
Yeah. I will say, I think it's incredibly funny, the chat pointed out, that if you join Ezekiel to Company Heroes, which you can now do, the Company Heroes die. Because they're not joined by a captain or a chapter master.
What is it? Ezekiel's the chaplain?
He's a librarian.
Oh, he's a librarian. Okay.
Yeah. Asmodai is a chaplain. Yeah, Asmodai can join the Company Heroes as well, and kills them. Because they did not start the game attached to a captain or a chapter master.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I guess there's going to be some more typing in 40K.
I guess there's going to be another month of wondering whether or not you can even use these rules.
Sweet. Well, hopefully people enjoyed this one. Like I said, coming up is going to be an AdMech game into Space Wolves with the Explorator Maniple. So if you want to check that out, please do. And then on Friday, Jack and I are going to build a list for Necrons to be played next week. So if you're a Necron AdMech fan, plenty more content coming. And in the War Room next week, there's going to be... Not only there's going to be 2 AdMech games with the Hunter cohort, and then there's going to be a Necron game as well. So please do sign up. Check out the worm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial and lots of awesome content, and get access to our sweet Discord community. Otherwise, thank you so much. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about us, and leave a comment below letting us know what you think of the MFM, and what are you most excited for in these points updates. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate everybody's support, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock for that stream game.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you soon. So long.